Well, here we are. Martin's just having a few technical issues that he's hit his router with an hammer. He's put a bit of super duper on it, and that might have solved the problem. But hello, folks. PJ here from Midlife Models. I'm joined by two of my cohorts this evening. I've got with us Luke from Diecast Outlaw. Evening, Luke.
Hello, everyone. Evening, PJ. Hello, everyone.
And we've got a scampering Martin Dare from Martin Dare's Dinky Restorations. We'll give him a minute. Good evening, Martin. Or not? Can you? Well, we've lost him again.
You go.
And as you can see, we're missing our European colleague as well, Laz. He might be out hitting the bottle due to the fact that he's at 2,000 subscribers today. So he's well happy. We're all we're all well pleased for him. Are you there, Martin? Martin,
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Good evening. There we are. We've got him back. He's scampering around like a good blessing.
I'm having signal problems again.
Yeah, he's in his caravan and his router's playing up a little bit, and they've just been hit by bad weather. So Laz hopefully will be joining us a little bit later. He's been travelling between Hungary and Romania over the last couple of days. He has messaged me to say hopefully he'll be on later, so we'll catch up with Laz later. We've lost Martin again. It could be the PJ and Luke show this week, mate. I've got a feeling it's not going to end well at this rate, is it? So let's look at the comments. Mick is in the comments before we start.
Hey,
Good
Mick.
evening, Mick. Good evening, mate. We can see you. We probably get more action from the comments than we get. There he's back again. It's going to be this kind of night.
I'll keep trying. I'll keep trying.
Let's remove that one. There you go. Stick with it. Get Mrs. D on the roof holding the router up, in that rainstorm light. Anyway, where was it? Yeah, so we've got the three of us for now. Evening to Mick, he's in the chat. We're going to be talking about disassembling your model after the last episode where we were talking about purchasing and that kind of thing. So we're going to go from disassembling up until the point where you're prepping for paint. So we'll come to that shortly, but first of all, we'll do our round robin as we've been doing over these weeks to see what everybody's up to. I know from listening to Martin last night, that scared him off, hasn't it? That's just done him over. Well, there we go. We're gonna have to fill in with 3D stuff.
Luke. I've got to stop printing it at the minute.
No, it's frozen again. Luke, do you want to go with what you've been up to this week, mate?
I have, mate, yeah. A lot of them will see it who's watching now. The little corgi beetle bus.
It's a glorious colour, that is. Look at the shine on that.
Again, the arches, wheels, the front balance, and the boot spoiler, all done with a 3D printer. Absolutely love the way that's come. It looks really nice on display. It does.
Yeah, that colour. What colour is it? It's like a bronzy brown, isn't it?
Yeah, well, Martin sent me a video of one of these last week over Facebook, and it had the wide arches on, and it was in that. I suppose it's like a coppery bronze colour mixed up, but it's a similar colour to that with the black. If that's the colour to go with it. So we got Martin to thank for the colour for that one. And I've just started today, this afternoon, literally half an hour ago. It's just stripping down the SD1. That'll go into the sandblaster tomorrow. And then I'm currently at the minute printing wheels for this, a front balance and a rear spoiler. So that's next week's video. And that's all I've got at the moment.
So this 3D printer's really opened up an all new world for you, hasn't it?
It's just hassle-free. I can pick any car I want to do now, and I can virtually print whatever I want for it. It's absolutely... I should have done it ages ago. But I'll be honest, the only thing which pulled me off was getting my head around the software. Yeah. But it's easy, mate. Once you're in there and you've got it in front of you, it's easy.
Yeah.
And I'm no tech guy. I'm not, but I can use it sweet enough.
Well, we have had
Martin
discussions
could use
between
it.
us. Yeah, we have had discussions between us to get some advice. Whatever one of us has learned, we've kind of passed it around, or if
Yeah.
we've got some files that we can share between us, and then we send Michael off to go and spend money to download plans, like, bless him. So Martin's. I'm hoping it's going to settle down for him in a moment. So,
You should do. What have you been up to, PJ?
What have I been up to? It's funny you should ask, Mark. Luke. We've got our 164th DMC event this month.
Yeah.
And I've done a 1989 Batmobile. We were talking about,
nice,
so
man.
usually when you get this out of the box, it's just a plain satin black.
Yeah.
But what I've done is highlighted the wheels and some of the side pods and engine, etc. Let me just see if I can drag Martin back in. There he is. We've done the tail and the tail lights.
Yeah.
And then the front lights. And I've just got an homemade decal, which is about somewhere to put on the roof. It did have a white Batman logo, but I've gone for the yellow Batman logo.
Yeah.
And all well and good. We'll be having a video on the Midlife Models channel. Probably only the second one this year.
Long time, mate. Long time overdue, that one.
It's been overdue, yeah. And then the other project, this is a bit of a long-term, as the boys know, a bit of a long-term project for me. I'm working on 2 Jerry Anderson Interceptors. The green one is close to completion. I've been waiting to do decals, and this one is going to be more of a studio correct version.
That white one looks lovely, mate.
Yeah, what it still needs, if I can get something. This is where it's dangerous, because I'm trying to show something and I end up scratching it. But this side pod here, needs to be sprayed in silver, and so does the top fin and the leading edges on these wings. So there's still a bit of work to do on this, but because it's my favourite genre of diecast, I'm taking my time with it. I mean, you know as well as I do that you can pretty much, I'm not saying chuck out smaller cars left, right, and centre, but they're a hell of a lot easier to do than if you take on a major 125th scale car or something of that ilk, because of the amount of parts involved and the mechanisms, etc. So got those 2 to do, plus the Batmobile. What's coming up after that? So there we go. Martin's gone again. Bless him. Hoping we'll get Lazi.
The weather, isn't he?
Yeah, he's suffering, the ladders. Right. Okay. I will. One of the things. So I'm trying to hold this out until Martin can get back on. But we were talking in our virtual pub last night, the Tavern, on the DMC Facebook page. Please come and join us by all means. It's raucous but fun. And I said to the lads, I was making made some of my own decals, which are these like these shadow logos. Luke's going to be looking at getting a printer, aren't you, mate, to be having a crack at this as well.
Yeah.
And I said I'd ordered some French shapes off Amazon.
That's right, yeah.
And everybody thought I was getting them from Ann Summers or something, you know. Not French letters, French shapes. And what they are, they've come today, so they are shaped templates.
Right.
And this one is huge. It's the size of a sunflower head. It's massive. But the idea is, these are all obviously separate. You can match the curves up on a decal to help you cut
use
it
that
out.
to cut round them with the blade.
Yeah, and I found this. Obviously, if we do a lot of small decals.
Yeah.
This little tiny one, or I'll say tiny, it's about 4 inches wide. Was brilliant because it's got the curves on the inside plus the circles that match on the outside.
It'd be handy, not to get some of them.
Yeah. There was 2 in one pack, and the big one was a separate. I think I paid £26, but I was really pleasantly surprised when they come, because I was expecting them to be like the Tamiya circular, the Tamiya Dua version, but it's very thin metal. It's like tin, and it's very flimsy. These are like industrial stainless steel, like they're really, there's some weight to them. So, and that helps if you're pushing down on a decal to hold it in place when it's not flying about all over the place.
Definitely.
So that was a purchase this week. I know that me and Luke have been. I also did. Well, we've been going 3D print mad because we're playing with our new toys. Obviously, like I've done my granddaughter a Grogu, or Baby Yoda, as is more commonly known. So that's a work in progress. And I keep pestering Luke for how he's setting his up, and one of the things that we did find out last night, or I found out from Luke, was reducing the supports aids in the speed of the print itself, because that little Grogu is about 80 millimeters high. Took 5 hours.
A long time on it printing.
Yeah, it is a long time, especially when you've got an impatient 6-year-old granddaughter who's going.
Is that a solid piece of resin then, PJ, or is it hollow?
It's rock solid. Yeah,
rock solid. There's a fair bit of weight there, then, I bet.
Oh yeah, it's it's a good few ounces in weight. But every time I do one of these, I'm more and more amazed how they come out, because you think it can't be that good. They can't be that good. It can't be like buying something off the shelf, like. But they are that good.
Yeah. So you've got the task of painting it.
It's probably going to be me or you if I send it up to you.
I'll spray
you. Spray. That's what I want it to, yeah. But it's got to be done in like pastel colours, muted colours, And we had a talk last night about sanding down resin.
Yeah.
And you said you used a metal file, and I was kind of took back a little bit by that. But obviously, I know that you can get the miniature metal files.
I'm not on about a big rasp like. But
I've got sort of this kind of.
That's it.
This
just
kind of size, yeah. And I thought,
just to take the just where it's joined onto. Because it leaves a little mark, PJ. You probably noticed on that you got there. It does leave marks. But if you're gentle enough with it, you'll get rid of it.
You got marks where the supports are holding up things like the fingers and the ears and things like that.
Yeah.
But I'm going next time I'm going to take your advice and look at the size of the supports to see if I can reduce them a little bit.
Reduce them, I'll thin them out.
I did pick up a couple of sanding blocks, fine and coarse, medium and fine. These were from the range.
Yeah.
They work as well.
Crap.
And the crap. It did start to fall apart. Venom, yeah. And of course, I went around the beauty section of Sainsbury's and found some sanding sticks as well. So I've got a selection of stuff we can try.
I've got a rock of them sanding sticks. I've seen them. I haven't even touched them yet. I must have about 50 in the drawer here.
To top all that, if none of that works, I've got the little tack light cordless with a set of grinding attachments, and this works really well as well.
Yeah.
So there you go. Martin.
I ordered them taps you put up before.
Yeah.
I ordered one up 3 mil.
What if you're wondering what we're talking about? We're talking about what we're probably going to get into in a little bit in the disassembly process. If you drill and tap your posts for putting bolts in, It's good for us because we can pass information between us to say, well, I got these threads and taps from such and such a place. They've worked really well, and I think there was $6.99 for 2, Luke. Them ones, them M2s.
Yeah.
And I've also found the link for the drill bits that I use that go with them. So I'll send you that. I'm trying to string this out. He may just be back online.
There we go.
We'll try again. See what happens.
Swad to up north. Are you there up north?
I'll tell you, it's a right pain here.
Oh bless. I know he's persevering, so we'll crack on and we'll let Martin have a say about. Have you been up to anything this week, Martin? With you been up?
No, I haven't actually. No, not this week. So,
well, we'll make a start and we'll play it by ear. We may have to pull in one of our subs if Martin starts to struggle. Hopefully, Laz will be here soon. So, disassembly. Where do we start then, chaps? Mark, let's start with your process. Whilst we've got you online.
Yeah. Just before we start, I just got a message from Mr. Ian Hull. He's in the chat.
Good evening,
Ian. And he actually put up a good suggestion. Actually, would it be possible to 3D print the rivets that what we replace, or you could call it a plug? You know, rather than us buying aluminium ones, using a 3D printed plug.
Good idea, that.
Which I think it's an interesting idea, Ian. Well done, mate.
We'll have a look into that. We'll see if we can find. Mind you, it can't be that hard to.
Oh, you'd make one of them, no mind.
You'd make that plan, wouldn't you? Send you a circle on the tube. Yeah.
I think you could. Something could happen like that. Right. My method before I get cut off again is basically if the base plate post peened over has got a smooth rounded top without a pinhole in it, I'll normally run the file over to get a flat top to it, and then I'll drill a small pilot hole in just a little while, a couple of mil just to get so the bigger drill then can bite into the pilot hole. It's usually, depending on the size of the head of the peened over, we call it a rivet. It's just a peened over post really, but for argument's sake we'll call it a rivet. I usually sort of measure up the size roughly once the pilot hole is being drilled, and just big enough to take off the edge of the rivet. So, and they do vary in size. Some are quite bigger than others. Some have been well spread. Some haven't. Just enough just to bring it down. Don't go too mad with it. Just go slow, and until you see it bite into the plate slightly, and then you should be able to lift it off, and you can wedge it and ping it off. Hopefully, that's the game plan anyway. So that's how I do mine to start off with anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about the base plates first, and then we can talk about the interiors and things like that afterwards or next. Luke, have you got any variation on a theme?
Pretty much the same as Martin, just a decent drill.
Yeah.
There's it's a base plate in it. There's like some of them are screwed as well, aren't they? Some are riveted, some are like which one was it on that it did? They're like twisted at the end, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like some, I don't like them ones because you end up having to glue them. I can't remember now what car it was I did it on. Because I don't like using glue. Every time I use it, I get it everywhere. So I try not to use it if I can. But pretty much the same as what Martin said, really.
Okay. What I'll add to I'll use this interceptor as a prop. The screws on this are very fine, very fine. So the recommendation: if you're going to drill out a post, you want a sharp drill bit, not one that's been in your shed for years and years. The cost of these drill bits are, I'm not going to say pittance because money's money, but they're not the most expensive thing in the world. If anybody wants to know where we get ours from, let us know. We'll leave a link or ask us on Facebook. But my tip would be, if you're going to be using a drill, which this is currently got a 1.7, and I find the 1.7 drill, I highly recommend it for, well, I mean, this is all down to opinions because the guys will probably have their own opinion. I use a 1.7 because it's easier for the thread, an M2 thread, to put a thread on, obviously. If you're using a 1.6, it can be a little bit too tight. You feel like you're forcing the thread into the post. And all of these things.
Sorry, PJ.
Sorry. Yep.
I was just mentioning, we saying about the tapping and the screwing. Like if I was to go for like an M2 on this, the screws I've got, the heads are too small for that. The screws fall straight through. So I've either got to step it up on the screws so the heads don't fall through there, or get better screws. So that's something you've got to watch out when you're doing stuff like that as well.
There is an alternate on that. I'll just finish this off. So sharp drill bit, and you just take your time. It's not a race. And then when you thread it, probably about 5 turns, and then rewind. Take your thread out, clear it. You might have a little stiff wire brush. I know Martin used to get a wide brush kit from like Pound Savers, didn't you, Mark? Brass wires. Just brush off your thread, dip it in some Vaseline, start the process again, and do half a dozen turns.
There is. There's the other thing is holding the model whilst you do it. There's 2 or 3 different methods. If you're just starting out and you haven't got the right equipment, you can do it on your bench, as long as you steady your model one way or another, making sure you haven't got things sticking out the end that are liable to snap off while you're drilling. You can use a leather cushion. You could use just your bench. I wouldn't advise holding it in your hand and doing it, because that could turn out quite nasty if your drill slips. Or you can buy quite cheaply now. You can buy the plastic vices, bench vices, what sit flat on your bench. You can clamp your model in that, and then drill down from there. So that gives you that added safety and stability. Sometimes if you use a larger bench vice, the model will tend to slide from one end to the other. It will tip like this, so you need to support it some way. So those smaller machine vices that you lay flat on the bench, they don't tend to go that much. And if you have got a good pillar drill, that's always handy. If you can get your hands on a pillar drill, doesn't have to be a massive expensive huge great thing like you get in engineering shops. You can get the smaller ones. You can get the ones for what hold a Dremel. You can buy some for the hand drills. Anything what can hold your drill steady. If you're not got a steady hand and you don't really want to risk doing it freehand, if you know what I mean. There is options there. Is to basically steady your model in a vice, or a good support on your bench, a leather cushion. If you know what I mean, a leather cushion, it's like a big leather bag, really. It's full of sand. It's like a sandbag, basically, in effect. But just be wary of what you're drilling when you're pushing down. As PJ said, a sharp drill bit is really what you want. If you've got a blunt one, you'll tend to put more pressure on your drill, and therefore putting pressure on a drill is liable to push down on the roof. It could bend little tips and fins on your model. So, you you got to lay out for a decent drill bit. I tend to use mine, Stanley. I found them to be quite good. The Stanley drill bits, they tend to last quite a bit because the nature of the die cast will chew up your drill bits because it gets hot. The die cast gets hot and it sticks to your drill bit like glue. It's very mushy once it gets hot. So that's where the use of oil, a little drop of machine oil on, light oil, just to lubricate your drill bit whilst you're drilling in. But yeah, support. You definitely need support, but please don't use your hand. I know a lot of people have done it, and there's a lot of people have had an accident. So support your model either on the bench. You can support it with your hand as long as it's not anywhere near the drill. If you know what I'm saying, like I do sometimes, I'll leave mine against the boot, a solid area, and drill it from that angle. Or best if you're starting out, to buy yourself a little vise and clamp it in that. But,
if you're going to prop against something, you could use a plug of wood to put the. If you're doing the bonnet end, you could put the bonnet on.
The other thing is, if you're using a vise,
don't let it slip.
If you're using a vise, don't clamp it too tight. You'll end up squashing it.
Well, that's it. You don't use a 10-pound bench vise and crush the body.
And
careful.
Once your pilot hole's drilled, use your you can probably use a 4mm, 5mm, up to 6mm to get your the head off the post, depending what size it is, obviously. And I find if you've got a blunter drill bit, it tends to spread the post further when you're pushing down on it, because you're not digging into it, you're heating it up and you're actually spreading it. So you think, oh, it's still not coming off. I need a bigger drill bit, and then a bigger one. It's not that. In fact, it's your drill bit's not sharp enough, and you just need to get it just enough to ping the base off.
If you I'm just going to say, just nip into the chat and say, good evening to Jessica. Welcome back, mate. Good to see you. If you attack the heads of these rivets too fast, I completely agree with what Martin's saying. It will heat up.
Yeah.
So just do it slowly. It's still going to come off. You're still going to drill down. Dip your drill bit. Excuse me. A little pot of oil or some. Here we go. Some petroleum jelly. I swear that's what I've got it for. Obviously.
Okay.
Drill,
Yeah.
You know. And I use that for both dipping the drill bit in to cool it down and the threads for when I'm threading the post, obviously. In answer to the point that Luke was saying, if your M2 screws are a little bit too small, Luke, get yourself a little pot of M2 washers, and it makes up the difference. We were saying, weren't we, last night?
It doesn't look nice, does it? You look underneath it with the watches on. It doesn't look nice.
If you spray them up so that they're the same colour as the chassis, I'm just trying to think. It's just a work round, because more often than not,
you can go for. There's no harm in doing that. Just
you can go for an M4 bolt and an M4 thread.
That's when you have to scale it up, then, don't you? But
yeah.
On this Rover, I was quite surprised. I was expecting quite big posts, and there isn't. They're really small on it, to be fair. So
that's another thing about the post, that rivet. You may look at the inside of your model, and the post may be 3/4 of an inch long.
Yeah.
But that rivet that you're drilling in doesn't go all the way to the bottom. So at any point, if you're forcing it too much, your drill could go straight down and straight through the bonnet. So or the boot or whatever it is you're drilling, the roof, it doesn't matter. So just take your time. What I've got is if you get yourself a cocktail stick and you mark the depth of the bolt that you're putting in, and just test it now and again with a cocktail stick with a line on it saying, that's 5mm or whatever it is you want to drill, how far you want to drill down. And once it's reached that mark, take it out, thread it. You're safe to carry on without causing too much damage.
Yeah, you can you can use on your. Let's go back a little step. Apart from using the drill bit to drill out your post, you can use a burr a burring tool in a Dremel, or a handheld. Yeah, the PJ's showing up now. Yeah, you could use one of those because in some instances there is some of the corgis, I can't remember which one it is to hand, but they got the rivet is right up against a molding, so it's very difficult to get a drill in without chewing up the mold itself. So a Dremel to take the cap off, to take the top off the post is fine. And a burr, you hold it steady. It's not as vicious as a drill. It can be more controllable, and some people might find that an easier way of doing it. If you've got the right burr, you can dish it as well. So that's another method of doing it. So you got your two methods, your two main methods of doing it. And as regarding drilling your screw out, like PJ was mentioning, using a cocktail stick, you can either use a piece of masking tape on your drill bit, so you can drill down up to that tape, or you can use an engineering paint, so you'll know exactly where to drill down to. Yeah. So we'll go into the drilling of the posts when we're round to that.
Sorry, I was just going to see if I could find it. So there we go. So I've got one of these little handheld vices, and as you can see, it's only a cocktail stick in there, and I've just marked it off. I wanted to, and I've got this to hand. So two of these. One is for. Oh, there you go. One's got a thread in it, and one's got a cocktail stick in it. So that's for measuring, and that one's there for putting the thread in. So I'm going to be playing prop guy really more than anything else tonight, I think. That's all well and good. So
just excuse me a minute, mate. Just so that.
Yeah, no worries, mate. Anybody's got any questions about drilling the posts, removing the posts and getting into the model itself, or drilling the posts? By all means, drop a question. I don't know if Ian's touched base with you, Martin.
No, not in a minute, I don't think. Okay. The other thing is, once you've drilled your post out, whether you do it with a drill bit or a burr, is lifting your base plate. Make sure, have a quick look through the sides or under the base plate to see if there's any plastic fittings that you're liable to snap whilst you're putting your screwdriver in to lift the base off. If you have to put pressure on your base to lift it, in some instances you don't, the base will come straight off. But classic example is the Chevy with the plastic center chassis, what goes right through front to back. The Cortina estate on the Corgi, which has got the plastic, silver or chrome plastic chassis right away through, which holds the suspension. If you got going in there with a screwdriver and levering up the base, and you don't think about it, you could end up snapping that plastic chassis or even snapping the suspension arms off it. So, just have a look before you start levering the base up. Yeah. And
you don't have to be just one other thing about tools and things like that. You don't have to spend a fortune on
no.
big tools. These little kind of tools for prying stuff out. These are only. I mean, you get these from Poundland for a couple of quid, and you can just use these kind of tools to lever out. But if you're having to feel like you're having to force the base off, you haven't drilled enough. That is just go back and double check that you haven't still got a ring of the rivet on top, left on top.
If you're getting resistance, check.
Yeah.
I mean, on some of the Dinky, you'll get a bend your plate, but you can always knock it straight on a piece of metal anyway.
I was saying to the boys last night when I was going to do this 64 scale challenge, I started off with the 89 Batmobile and the pod version of it, and I was going to do both of them, and I drilled the base off the pod and ended up snapping it in half. So even 4 years later of doing this, you can still screw things up. Good evening, Les from Moz Models is in the chat. Good to see you, buddy. What size drill bit? A 1.7 for a post, mate, is the one I recommend. Martin, do you what size do you drill?
I use the 1.6 as a pilot. Yeah, use it pilot. If I'm doing use an M2 screw, I use 1.6 drill piece to get down in it. Then the M2 tap. If I'm going to screw it, if I'm going to rivet it, I start off with a 1.6 and then go in with the suitable size for the rivet you're going to use. You know,
so a lot of this has got to do with model size, 164 scale, 143 scale, 125 scale. Every time you go up a scale, your posts get bigger. So you're looking for bigger.
Yeah, you could. I tend to use the 1.6 and the M2 tap for Dinky and Corgi as well. Like you say, like Luke has a problem with the hole in his base plate is larger than the M2 screw. If you don't like the idea of putting a washer underneath, you could cut yourself a piece of plastic card, put it on the reverse side of the base plate, and drill a hole through that. That'll support your screw from underneath. And once you painted the base plate, if you're going to do that, test fit your screws obviously before you paint the model. You put a piece of plastic card underneath at the back if you've got room, drill a hole through that, and then that'll support your screw. And once you painted your base plate black, you probably wouldn't even notice it's there. So
I mean, you can get you can even go to the extreme of using roundhead nails. I'm just talking about tack nails, and you can cut them down to 2 or 3 mil, and they'll fit in like a rivet. So there's that. If you don't mind using glue. That probably looks more real than putting a screw in, to be honest. But,
well, there is some die-cast manufacturers that do use like a flat rivet. I have seen on 1 or 2 that European models that have got a flat rivet. Like, it looks very similar to a tack nail head.
So Luke's just visiting the gentleman's room. He'll be back in a momentarily. So let's move on then, Martin, because I know this is one of your subjects that you've done quite a bit of testing on, is removing the interior windscreen, especially on the older models, where you want to be really careful what you're doing.
Let's have a look. See, once you've got the base plate off, we'll do it in a process. Once you've got the base plate off, then depending on what kind of vehicle you're working on, if it's got a lot of parts to it, like boots, bonnets, doors, and any spring-loaded equipment, remove the base plate, put it to one side, and just it'd be handy then if you've got a complex model, then take a few still photographs of the layout as you took the base off. Otherwise, you're going to get confused when you go and put it back together again. So it's always best once you took your base off to keep your car or your lorry or your truck flat, so you can then remove the base plate and see what's inside, see the configuration. 1 or 2 things might come out that you can't help because it's probably under pressure. So just take note of where they locate, and then take a few pictures. Always take a few pictures just in case, because it might be a few weeks till you get back to reassemble it again, and then you could cause yourself a problem because you forgot where it all came from. So that's a must. And then take your pieces out one at a time. And if you're not sure how it came out, or you're thinking, I'm not sure, then put it back in again. And just to see, if a piece is loose as laying on the side, put it back in again before you go any further, just to see that you're sure where it locates. It's always just looking at it. If it's a basic model like a Dinky with no interior, or just a straightforward interior with glass, that's fine. But you're going to get something which is going to be a bit more complex. Doors and boots might fall off when you take the base plate off and you lift it up. All the because once the pressure's off that model, things will start falling off. So then look at your boot, how it goes together. Look at your bonnet, how it goes together. And once your bonnet falls off, just push it back on again. Make sure it's how it goes. before you
It
completely
looks
strip
like
it down.
things like the James Bond car and the Batmobile and the
Yeah,
Joe
yeah.
all these that have got working mechanisms.
Yeah,
You just
yeah.
you
Well,
can
you got to
you can
attack
be
it.
getting springs from 8 foot behind
Yeah.
you because they've gone flying all over the place. Like, you know,
Well, you've got to attack it. You've got to attack it with
don't be afraid. Have a go.
yeah. If it's systematically, if it's a complex model, then you've got to systematically take it apart. But take it apart in the way that you know it's going to go back together, like in the reverse. See, a lot of them will have you'll have that one piece plastic chassis with all the suspension on it and stuff like this. Yeah. So that's one was got to come out first. And then you can check it before you take it out. Check it to see if what's broken on it or cracked on it. You can see whether the suspension arm has fell off or broken. Like the James Bond 2000 Toyota, for instance, when you start taking that apart, you've got bits and pieces of the boot will come out that's got springs in it. So it's a case of take the cap off, take the base off, photograph it if you're not sure, and then systematically take it off piece by piece, and if need be, put it back out, take it out again, just to make sure you've got the idea where it all goes and how it all fits. Because once that's put back together again with paint on it and different stuff, it's going to fit differently. So that's my advice: will be take pictures if it's a complex model. If it's not, then you don't really need to, and then put all the stuff to one side in a tub so you don't lose it. Yeah.
Totally agree. Have you got anything? Have you got any special ways or processes that you carry, Luke, to when you're disassembling?
Yeah, just going back from the disassembly, especially with the doors and stuff like that. Like on this Rover, we weren't too bad. Where are we there? Before I'm stripping this, I'm looking what them gaps are like around that door, especially when it comes for painting. So you're also dealing with the job in hand, but looking what's going to sort of bite you in the bum when you're putting it back together. Now, if them door gaps are really tight, once I've stripped that down, I'll be running the file round there. So once I've stripped the paint off and I put new paint on there, that's not going to chip off when I open them doors. And
are they the wire loaded? Sorry, wire sprung doors.
These ones aren't. This has a clip that holds it across the front there. It's meant to be pinched in, but it wasn't on this. But I'll be honest with you, I did have a bit of trouble getting this boot off. I didn't realise at the time because it's got. I don't know if you can see it there. It's got that little tab there.
Yeah.
So I was lifting that tab and then obviously trying to pull that bar out the boot. It wouldn't come.
Yeah.
There's only one that took a real fine look at it. That it's just on the back at the top of the glass there. It's been peened over just to hold the bar in. So as soon as it won the little grinder over there, it virtually fell out. So I thought that's going to be a nightmare putting it back together, but it's not. It actually goes in and out really easy now. But I will. So
you're almost looking at pushing it forward to pull it back.
Pushing it forward, yeah. So basically, once it's back together, I'll just get a little. Can't think of the name of it. Just a little chisel. It's got. Just a little chisel. That's it. Just a little chisel, just to mark, just put the marks there, just to clean it again, and that'll be it. That'll be perfect.
Now you're asking. I've got no idea what I'd call these. If I was going to go, if I'd got to go and buy a set, I wouldn't know what to call them. You know what I mean? But when you go in the shop and you go, I want that. I don't know what it is, but I need to have it. You know,
need to have it.
Need to have it.
Yeah, there's stuff like that.
The kind of things that we've gone. Well, I need to have that. It's cost us all a fortune. Sorry, Luke. Carry on.
But obviously the glass on this again, they were rivets. Now there's two ways I could have gone with that, but the rivets were pretty good because he had the little hole in the middle. You could do like with what Martin does sometimes with the soldering iron. But I did drill them. I used a drill bit the same size as a rivet, and the glass come out perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a question from Mr. Hulley, Ian Hulley. You can also use glue dots to re-secure the window units, or you can use a translucent double-sided techno tape. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. So we got that.
Heard of that?
Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure I don't press the wrong button. That's it. Yeah. I find.
Thank you. Any by the way, anybody in the chat who's got any suggestions to add, we don't know it all, by any stretch of the
Yeah,
imagination.
so we've got the base plate off. We've got our interior out. The boots and bonnets normally just come off, except for when you got the spring tab like Luke's got with the hatchbacks, and I think the Jaguar Corgi Mark 10 has got a spring and on it as well. So be careful of those when you take them off. The other thing is doors. Now, whether you take the doors off or whether you leave them on, some you've got no choice. They'll just come out anyway because they're a bit like the transit doors and with the big arms, and they just slot into two holes. They'll come out. You've got no choice with that. The other ones are the one with the spring bar going across underneath the dashboard. Those, you get a lot of those in the Matchbox cars, and you get some of the bigger Corgis. I think Andy from Andy's Diecast garage, if I can get that right, he had the Matchbox Jaguar he was doing, and that's got a long straight bar on it. Sometimes it's easier to leave it on, leave that in and paint the doors in situ. Just open them slightly and paint them in situ, because it's maybe easy enough to get them out, but getting them back in again can be a pain, and it can chip your paint. I find if I've got a situation like that, I will tend to leave them on rather than force to get them off. Obviously, some are loose and they need to come off, or else they're going to fall off anyway, and you don't want that happening when you're doing stuff. So the ones with the metal bars are normally it's like a wire going across. I normally leave those in, but you'll get some with a thin plate which you can pull out from the top, which is that's simple enough to do. But the ones with like the piano wire going across as a spring, I tend to leave those in. It's better be safe than sorry.
I'm going to give a shout out to Laz, who's unfortunate because he'd be jumping straight in here and mentioning Majorette as he does, and I have to say, from a 64th scale point of view, the Majorettes. Well, I don't believe it. It's like the devil appears just when you're talking about him, and here he is, Mr. 2K himself, Lazi-low Collectibles. How are you, Laz? Congratulations, buddy.
Yeah, congrats on the 2K, mate. 2K. Yeah.
Thank you. Cheers.
I did reinstall my subscription to get you up that 2K.
We've all resubscribed.
Thank you. I think that's why it happened today. Yes.
We're going to tease him. I get unsubscribing, subscribing.
2000, 1997, 2000, 1998.
Well done, lads. Well done, mate.
I just remember PB when he had 2000, and then he said, "Oh, I knew it. It's going to go back to 1999."
Lose 10 subscribers the following day. Yeah.
I didn't check now if it's still 2K. Well, I think it is.
Okay.
Sorry,
on behalf of all of us, mate. Well done. You deserve it as much as anybody that we know. Well pleased for you. I just want to rub it in that my daughter started after you, and she got 2000 before you. I'm just going to say that. Ooh.
Nasty, man.
But it's quite spooky. I just mentioned the word Majorette, and you appear online. That's just spooky. That is. So just to bring you up to speed, I know you've been travelling between Romania and Hungary and whatever you like. We're talking about disassembly this week, as I think you may already know. We've got to the point where we've drilled the car. We've got the base off, and we're just discussing removing the insides. And I said, and I just said, I'm going to give a shout out to Lazi, because he would say a Majorette is one of the easiest cars to disassemble, and I completely agree with that sentiment. There's like a U-shaped wire that's so easy to unclip. You take it out, the damn thing falls to pieces in your hand. It's like the best piece of cake you've ever tasted. It's the easiest thing to work on.
Yeah, because the super fast matchboxes. I'm just in a process of restoring the field car, and they have that plastic suspension in, and it's sometimes because the little pods are there to obviously to hold the interior in. They sometimes so tall when you try to get the pair of wheels out, they crack. So this is what happened with the field car. One side of the suspension is cracked. So now if you put the wheel back, it's not gonna hold. It's not gonna it's not gonna do its job. So now I have to glue the pair of wheels back because the suspension won't hold it. And I don't like to drill them up.
Saying, "Hi, Laz, the magic man with the spray can." Wow. There you go.
I don't have my computer on, so I just.
That's all right, mate. I'll cover it this week. I know you've been. You're playing catch up a bit. Before we go any further, just in case you do anything different to the likes of Luke, myself, and Martin, we've been talking about removing the base. Is there anything that you particularly, any part of your process that you do any different to anybody else when removing a base? Is there anything you look for or any issues you have?
Well, sometimes if you don't drill enough, you can bend the base, especially more matchbox. You can bend a little bit the base. But with the corgis and dinkies, I always use. Sometimes the corgis has a little hole within the rivet.
Within the rivet, yeah.
So I normally use a very small drill bit, like 1.6 or 2, or normally 1.6, and just drill a bit in. If you don't have that hole and it's like a half round, then I file it down a little bit to make it flat, and I drill with 1.6, and then I check which drill bit will cover the whole rivet, the diameter of the rivet.
Yeah,
and then
Marty's just nipped off screen, and I forgot to cover this, so apologies. I was going to mention it. I've got a load of tools out, so I'm kind of playing prop master. So if there's anything you want to talk about, any particular tools, hopefully I've got something to hand. But that when you take the head off the rivet, that rivet can still stand proud of the chassis. So you kind of need to get the rivet slightly below the chassis, else your screw's going to tighten up to nothing, and you're going to have a rattling base. But totally agree with Laz. If you've got a dome-shaped post, by the time you've drilled it all out, by all means, get yourself. Well, we talked about files and stuff, but a little metal file. These are, again, not the most expensive tool you'll ever buy. Get yourself, get your post flat, and then you can use what is classed as an automatic punch. This is spring loaded. What it will do is leave an indentation in the middle of the post so that we can use our 1.6 and 1.7s as Jessica's just pointed out, center punch. So an automatic center punch. Again, these are not expensive. So I would rather we talked about cheap tools that people can afford, because there are. Thankfully, Michael's not here because he's got some big toys that has cost a lot of money just lately. But it depends how far you want to take the hobby. When you first start, pretty much like the rest of us, you go scouring around your shed and see what you've got in your shed or your toolbox, and you can still do them. You can still do the job with some handheld tools. Like, it's not the hardest thing in the world. So Martin's back.
Yeah,
just
sorry,
that's all right, mate.
Ian Hulley says congratulations on the 2K, Laz, Mr. Hulley. Yeah,
thank you for everyone. I did say on Facebook that thank you for everyone who watched, who commented, who subscribed, who unsubscribed. It's a next big step after 1,000. Is the 2,000 is the next big step.
I think Lou beat you just because I kind of begged and pleaded some of the guys to subscribe to her channel to get her over the line. Like,
I think it depends what sort of content you have.
yeah,
I mean,
it does.
diecast, we are millions of us doing diecast restoration, so
Yeah.
it's difficult.
It's still a niche area, though. That
It is.
There's
Well,
probably a handful of people that have got 2,000 plus subscribers. There's a lot of people with a lot less, you know.
Yeah,
but that's the we do it for fun. That's the idea, you know.
Well, it's a hobby, isn't it? It's a hobby that we share.
Sorry,
there
I'm
are
losing
many
subscribers for some reason.
Yeah,
Keep losing them. I don't know. Like,
we could have an old, and perhaps this is a good future episode to have, but talking about subscribers and YouTube and setting up videos and this kind of thing, and what camera we use and all that kind of stuff. Perhaps that's one for the future. So back into, I've just kind of brought Laz up to date, Mark, where
right, okay,
what we're talking about. So Luke did touch on the windscreen, so I'm going to let you touch base on that, because you use a particular method.
I like everybody else. I started using drilling out the rivet. That was successful on occasion, and I did find, as we spoke earlier, about the rivet head getting bigger and bigger as you're drilling into it, because so I thought, well, then I try using the burr tool, and I found it was laborious, because some of them rivet heads that hold the window screens in window units are quite big, and I was struggling. And the one that really made me fight like mad and made me change my mind about using a drill was the Bedford. I think it's the Bedford S type, the early Bedford, with the windscreen, because it's quite tight in there, and I was struggling with it, and I was drilling it, and I was doing all sorts around it, and the windscreen was getting bigger, the hole was getting bigger, it was getting bigger, and its door wouldn't come out. So actually we were talking to Kev from Kev's Diecast, not Kev's Banger Racers, the other Kev from down in Devon.
Paragon.
Mr. P, we call him. And he touched on this soldering iron, but he'd done it, but he'd got a different soldering iron, and so I thought, I picked up on it. We were talking, and I picked up on it, and I'd got a soldering iron, but you need a soldering iron where the whole tube heats up, you know, the whole piece, not just the tip. And I'd got one. It was a Weller, I think, a yellow handled Weller, and I took the tip off, and the brass piece what holds the tip in, I ground that to an angle so it's like fairly sharp. And I used that. But prior to that, I used a hot tube. I got a piece of tubing. It was aluminium tubing, and I did the same with that. I beveled the end over to it sharp, and heated it up, and started using that with some success. I think Neil Austin, he uses a hot tube, and it worked. But it was getting flipping hot in my hand, and I thought, this is not ideal. Yeah. So that's when Kev was talking about the soldering iron, and I picked up on that and finished it off, so to speak, and I use that, and I find that now, once you got it generate enough heat in it, leave it on for a good while, get it hot, and it doesn't take many turns to pull it and twist it and get it out. The only thing,
5 and 10 minutes for a soldering iron to get warm.
The only downside would be if you're using, like in the Bedford, I use the Bedford S cab as an example because it's quite tight in there. If you've got the soldering iron really hot and you put it in there, and the window unit is quite tight fitting, a tight, close together unit, if you know what I mean, not a lot of gap in there, you could distort your window unit with the heat coming off the soldering iron shaft, if you know what I'm saying. So what I do then is put some silver foil on the inside of the window unit to deflect some of the heat.
Right. Okay.
So if you don't, the Bedford S cab, which they use for the Carrymore trailer.
Yeah.
Well, it's quite tight in there, and if you've got a lot of heat coming off your soldering iron, it could distort some of the glass if you're not careful. So if you're not sure, you just put a bit of silver foil around the inside just to deflect some of the heat. Yeah. So that works.
I'm just going to interrupt you for 1 second, because me and lads, I think, we're laughing at the same thing, and it wasn't at Martin. It was at Jestiger, who says, "I don't like to brag, but I'm up to 19 subscribers now." Go, brother. Stick it to the man. Good lad. Well done.
Yeah, good on you, Jess. Good on Jerry, mate.
You need to come and join us in the tavern, because I think you'd fit in nicely.
Yeah.
We've also got Kev, who's joined. Kev's Banger Races. Kev, our mate Kev. Hi guys, I'm still around. Good to see you, buddy.
Evening, Kevin.
Carry on breaking. We've been having problems with Messenger over on the Friday nights. It's driving me up the pole. Jessica, those stainless steel drinking straws are good for making a tube for the soldering irons. Mark, I don't know whether you're aware of the.
Yes, I did. Somebody else mentioned that. Funny enough, those metal drinking straws. Yeah.
Kevin also said, "PJ, I might have something for you soon. Something you might like." Oh, I've got a wide range of things that I quite like. Kev, be careful what you wish for, son. Kev is.
No, we're going live. I can't say what I was going to say.
I'll be careful. I've just realised I forgot to put the lottery numbers on tonight. Bugger. Anyway, Kev is one of our most generous members of the DMC. If you haven't joined the DMC, you're missing out. You're missing out on the chat, the tavern, all that kind of stuff. Come and search for us on Facebook. Luke was a bit wary of us when we first started, but he's fitting in nicely. We slate each other to pieces, but it's all done in good fun. We strip Laz bare about Majorette, because how'd you say it?
Majorette.
There you go. I rest my case. Mick saying I'm still here. Yes, we know you're still there, buddy. Jessica, 4 years only. Yeah, it's about the same as me, mate. I'm up to 409, but slowly building. There's a saying, but I don't know what it is. Anyway, moving on. Right, so Martin talking about the soldering iron. Is there a drawback? I'm just throwing this out there, Mark. I don't know whether there is or there isn't a drawback, that you've got a size limitation on the size of the pipe, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And the old be too big, if you get what I mean.
I found that the tube that I've got on the end of the soldering iron, it pretty much covers all. I mean, it is larger. It does leave a larger hole in the window unit, larger than the actual rivet itself, which is okay, because you can, like I say, you can glue it back in or use.
You're not going to rivet it back in, are you? You're going to.
Well, no, you never. I don't think you're ever going to rivet it back in, but you can put it back in securely. As of yet, I haven't come across one that I can't. Or have I? I don't think I have come across one that I can't get out. If it would be it will be a matchbox or something like that, something small. But I think most matchbox ones aren't riveted in anyway, are they? As far as I know.
I don't know. Another point. This is interesting, really. I'm starting to think about stuff I've never thought of before. Have you come across a model, Mark, where you've got a cracked windscreen and the soldering iron has been useful because it effectively seals the end of the crack back together?
Yes, it does. Yeah, it does. Because in the process of putting the windscreen in at the factory, if you'll notice that even if you haven't touched it, and the windscreen is perfectly crack-free front and back and everywhere, then you actually take the base off, take it all apart, and you see the interior is cracked. It's because the pressure method that they use, whether it be a hand press or a machine press, whichever way, if that's set slightly differently, then you'll get you will get pressure crack on it. And if you remember these die-cast models, when they're in the factory, they when they come out of the process, they're all tumbled together in a container to get all the flash off. So you're going to get, and they're still fairly warm, so you're going to get some slight defects in the roof. Then you've got the process of the glass, which is quite solid, because if you look at some of the glass units on some of the Dinkies and the Corgis, some are thicker than others. And obviously, the thicker the unit, if you've got a defect in your roof, when you put the pressure on there to put your rivet down, to tighten your rivet down, that will where you get your crack from. You know, it's a pressure crack. And I do find the soldering iron will seal that. But
you're talking some of these models that we've been working on in the past are 60, 70 years old. You know.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah.
And they, whether they're thick or thin, they're subject to time and can be brittle. You know, there's no.
Well, I find using a solder iron, it will seal the crack from the hole. So when you're actually cleaning it in your hand or holding it in your hand, and you clean it with sandpaper or whatever you're using to clean your screen with, the soldering iron sealing that hole, that crack at the beginning.
Yeah.
It helps it for when you clean it. If you hadn't got that crack would expand because it's not sealed at the beginning, if you know what I mean, the start of the crack where the hole is.
Yeah.
So then you'll end up, the more you handle it, the bigger the crack gets. You know, it's like your car windscreen. In the old days, you could get it and you can push it and you can see the crack moving along the windscreen. It's a very similar sort of effect.
I mean, I would see a model of that size, because you're mainly looking at 143 scale and upwards with your particular channel with the Dinky. We're always amazed by how he keeps digging these models out that nobody's ever seen before. But and that's what drew me to Martin's channel in the first place, because I've always said this. You know, I don't get to watch everybody's YouTube channel, but I like to see, because any of us can go, well, I've stripped this car down and painted it blue. Not everybody can say I've stripped a car down and painted it red. Is Michael here? No, I don't think so. I might have got away with it. But what you're looking for is something new, whether it might be a new method, a new system, a new process, a new model. And more often than not, on Martin's channel, you're seeing some of the rarest Dinkies, because he's got to the point where, I'm not saying he's going to get every Dinky that's ever been made, but he's getting up there where he's getting some of the rare stuff now. And we're often saying to him, what is it you're looking for? You know, can we help you out? Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I'm getting to the point now where it's the ones that I need are a little bit out of my price range at the minute. You know.
Exactly. Yeah.
But we'll get there in the end. We'll get there.
You're also just to add to that windscreen, before I go to Luke and Laz. I don't know if you're still in the chat, Moz, or Les. Put me on to the Tamiya thin glue.
Yeah.
You know.
I know. Yeah.
And if you do it, there are times when you can only get onto that one model, and the crack is fairly severe. I mean, I don't think Laz is. You'll correct me if I'm wrong and shout at me, Laz, if I say that you've successfully sold a few cars in the past online, but in the main, we're just doing these for the fun of it, you know, for the hobby light. So you don't mind repairing a windscreen with something like the Tamiya thin glue. You may still have that line down it, but you're trying to save the model at the end of the day. So that's another thing to bear in mind.
Yeah,
you've still got the crack, but you're reinforcing it. Like Martin's saying with the crack with the soldering iron.
Yeah, you have to be careful with the what glue you use. You don't want a hot glue, if you know what I mean, because some glues are quite hot. So the Tamiya extra thin, it's a good glue. It'll seep in and it will go around the cracks and stuff. As a fix to keep it from falling apart, it's a good fix.
Yeah, you don't want to. I totally agree, because some of these glues they're not glues. They're a melting agent. They melt two sides together, you know. And so Jessica, just popping into the chat for a sec, because I don't want to lose that. Jessica, 4 years only. Mick's still here. Bless you, Mick. Jessica, I'm working on a process for repairing crap windscreen using UV resin. I have to make a vacuum chamber. Oh, we need to put you in touch with Michael at Gravesend, Australia. Diecast.
Yeah,
Solids.
Michael,
he's your man.
Yeah, he uses UV light. He uses the UV resin to make windows.
Not anymore. Not anymore. Because
No,
as
I
of this
noticed.
morning,
I noticed. Yeah,
his vacuum former working.
Yeah, that,
He must.
I saw that today. I thought, well done, Michael. They look nice, actually. They look really nice. Yeah.
He must be having. I'm going to be careful what I say here. It's a tough question, so I'll be careful what I say. He must be quite happy. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
Michael's our arts off to Michael. He's a dear friend of ours, and he's invested heavily in some of the top end equipment, whether it be a vacuum former, a 3D resin printer like the likes that me and Luke have got. But even we've had to sit back, haven't we, Luke? And go, oh, hang on a minute, I don't spend that much. You know what I mean? Michael, bless him, he's gone, yeah, not a problem. I'll buy it. Right, okay. Anyway, Luke, windscreens, internal windscreens. Anything you want to add to the
Just going back to the soldering iron one that Martin come up with. Now, I copied a similar sort of design Martin did. I used a nib off the tip off the big wire where the big wire comes through on a welder. I drilled that through, made it to just over the size of the rivet. Now I've done the Corgi ERF, but I didn't. Once I'd got the soldering iron hot, I didn't have it upside down to push the soldering iron in over the top of the rivet. I had it that way up, so the glass comes sliding down the soldering iron, and the hole was about 3 sizes too big than it should have been.
Yeah.
Were you using the? If I get this right, correct me if I'm wrong. Were you using the soldering line like a cutting torch?
Yeah, basically. And it slid down the soldering iron, and the hole ended up massive.
Yeah, but
it's all a learning curve. It's all a learning curve.
Unless you try something, you'll never know, will you?
Well, but it works perfect over there now. I've used it since, but just make sure that it's upside down when you put the soldering line in it, because the glass will just melt and slide straight down the soldering line.
Well, we all know somebody. We also know somebody who's put plastic parts in caustic soda, so you know it's not.
Yes.
He had a strong cup of tea
Big
that
learning
day, I'll tell you. Anyway, Laz, removing windscreens. Anything you want to add to the conversation?
I don't have a soldering iron, so I just drill, but I drill carefully. Sometimes I drill by hand, so I just get the drill bit. Do it by hand. I did buy a set last week with very small. It's a Parkside from Lidl. Very small drill bits, with a hand tool to put them in, and then you can drill by hand. So I bought that one for smaller bits.
We should be, me and my buddy, we should be sponsored by Parkside, because the lads will take the raz out of me, somewhat rotten like. But I go down to Lidl's every Thursday without fail to look at the tap that they're selling. But if you're an hobbyist, the Parkside stuff is fantastic for what we do, right? You know, and you just mentioned that, and it is a Parkside drill set that you can get. You know,
I've got that. Yeah, I've got that one.
Yeah. So on the back of what Laz has just said, go on, Laz. Sorry.
Yeah, that's a good set. I bought that as well in Lidl. They're really good. They have 4 or 5 drill bits by the size.
Yeah.
That one, what you just showed. They're really good. Yeah.
Just a quick one there. Ian's just messaged me. He said the acetate sheets you can get from the range are good for replacing. Like if you've got a broken windscreen, so the front is broken, or a side is broken completely, you can use the acetate sheet to replace that. I've done that a few times. Did it on the Citroen DS, and I've done it on the side of buses where you can cut the sheet and form it, and you can then use that to replace parts of the windscreen what are broken, which is quite successful if you've got decent sized pillars that you can tuck in the bit behind. If you can cut the front of the screen out and leave enough to tuck the acetate behind, if that's the right word, acetone, whatever.
I'm the worst person for holding these things because I like a drink now and again as I'm working away. But a confessional on behalf of me and Mr. Dare. He doesn't know what I'm going to say next, but we both invested in a particular moulding tool. Mike, if you follow Michael, Gravesend Australia, Diecast Salvage, he's just brought a fantastic vacuum former. I don't know whether it was second hand, was it, Mark, that he brought?
Yeah, it was second hand. Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah. It looks fantastic. But me and Martin both brought a dentist's vacuum former that we haven't really come to terms with yet. Is that a fair comment?
Well, yeah, I've been practicing, but I haven't really had a lot of time to. I need to really turn around and say I'm not going to do a couple of videos. I need to really. I could do with taking a month off making videos and catch up on all these this stuff that I'm going to do.
The reason I say this is because what Ian is suggesting, the acetate, and I didn't know that you could get it from the range. I've never actually looked for it.
Yeah, you can. Yeah. Mm.
And I'm wondering whether that might be a solution to what we're looking for, Mark. Because them,
you
were looking at the thin CD cases, weren't you?
Yeah. I've had. With those dental things, it's getting to get the sag right and then dropping it at the exact same time as you got the sag. It's a bit of a but it's getting there. I've got plenty of CD cases to go at. Don't worry.
if this is making no sense to you, if you go to the guy who did Mythbusters,
look what Jessica said. Look what Jessica just said.
You can recycle PET plastic from soda bottles in your vacuum format. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm thinking about the guy who used to work for Industrial Light and Magic, and he was on Mythbusters. The blonde-haired guy with the glasses. His name escapes me.
I'm in it or something.
No, it's the other one, not Jamie. The other guy.
Adam Savage.
Adam Savage. Thank you, Martin.
Thank you, Martin.
Yeah. Adam Savage has got his own YouTube channel. I imagine anybody who's on here knows that now. But he did a particular episode about this dental vac former, and he's done loads of Star Wars stuff with it. So, by all means, if me and Martin are making no sense whatsoever, go and look at Adam Savage's video, and it'll show you what we're talking about. The point being, with the vacuum former, you can only use a 5-inch square piece of material in the vac former itself. Is that right, Mark?
Yeah, it's only basic. You'll get one windscreen in it. That's it, really. One window unit. Yeah. It's workable. It's basically it was designed for doing molding dentures. Really, that was what it was designed for. I think Don from Diecast Flashback, he uses his and he does his windscreen units. So he's had success with it. And I think Andrew from Maple Leaf, he's got one. I have seen him use it, but I don't know if he still continues to use it. I don't know. I think
I have to hold my hands up. If somebody suggests buying something, or I'll go and buy it. Yes, I've got a ruck of stuff. I've got an oven that's never been plugged in for enameling cars, and drying them. So. Wow. Jessica, I made my own vacuum forming tool, a heat gun, and a peanut tin.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Can I add
some pictures? Laz, go on. Sorry.
Can I? I do old-fashioned style. Sometimes, if I have more of the same cars, for example, I had the more MG 1100, and one had a cracked back windscreen, you know, the back, and one front. So, you know, when you look at the windscreen, the one bit where you don't have the windows on the side, just the roof.
Yeah.
So I normally cut that there, and I glue the separate bits onto the diecast when I assemble them. So in that case, I have an okay front screen, and I have an okay back screen, because I don't have a vacuum former.
Yeah,
So
that's a good way of doing it. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes please cut them off if I have
Yeah.
two the same.
Yeah.
And
Cut and shut.
I cut a bit shorter so they don't connect each other, because you don't cut the same the both windscreens. So I leave a little gap behind between, and then I glue them separately.
Yeah.
And it did work for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's workarounds, and a lot like a lot of things. There's workarounds and cheats. And when I say cheat, I don't mean it in the you're trying to deceive people. But if you've got a broken, let's say a driver's side door window, and if it's the top half of it, you could file it down to make it look like the wind is down, halfway down. So there's little tricks and tips that you can use to get workarounds.
Once from a Land Rover, the Corgi Toys W109W Land Rover, and it was cracked. Well, pieces were missing, so I cut that out like the window, and it's like the window down, rolled down.
Absolutely, yeah, totally agree with you, mate. And the other thing is, you can, if you've got some clear material, no matter what it might be, you may cut that out completely separately from. If there's a piece missing off the original internal windscreen, you could put that back, remove the broken piece, and glue in from the inside a separate piece altogether, just to make it up like nobody sees what's inside. Just put it back together more often than not.
Don't see them anyway because of the the pillars. So the pillars hiding. If you glue that back, and it looks a bit silly, but when you put that in, the pillars are hiding the problems, so it looks exactly like as it should.
And primer's a very good agent for hiding, what we're trying to get away with to a certain extent. So just to round off the internal windscreen, Martin's talked about the hot iron soldering technique. There's also an handheld way of doing it. So we've just had a look at the drill bits available from Parkside, and what I tend to do is, if you're very careful, because you're going to do this slowly, it's not going at the speed of a cordless drill. You can quite easily take a rivet. It's very. I tend to find that the rivets on the windscreens are softer, a lot softer than the posts for the body, And a few turns with this, and that's it, job done. And you can do it at your own pace. You don't need to rush it, and you don't need to put the windscreen under pressure. So an alternate method as well.
So we've covered the base plate removal. We've covered taking photographs of anything complicated before you go any further. We've had a look at windscreen unit removal. Doors, bonnet doors. We've discussed whether or not you can take them off or leave them on. Bonnets and boots. That's self-explanatory. The next thing I think we should would come under that category of taking it apart is dual headlights.
One of your specialised subjects again, Mr. Daly, because the vehicles you work on.
Dual headlights, they can be very tricky. I find a couple of methods. I'll use the Fab one as an example. I didn't take my dual headlights out of the Fab one. I put mask oil over it, or blue tack. Well, I found mask oil a bit easier to handle, or you can use white glue to to do that. I didn't take them out. Even when I put it in caustic soda, I kept the lights out of the caustic soda, if you know what I mean, and just gently went round with that. The other method is if you can get a drill access from the back of the headlight, you can put a pin drill like PJ's got, or you can gently drill a hole in the back and push the light out from the back. Some have got access, some you can they've got a hole already there you can push out. It might be covered in paint, but you'll find it and then poke it out. Some of them are in headlight buckets, if you know what I mean. They're in self-contained buckets. The basic ones are just glued in to the casting, but there is some what are in little buckets, which come out as one piece. You've got the bucket, the container, and you've got the dual headlight in the front. They're a little bit tricky to get out if you can't get access to the back. I find you'd have to go around with a knife, a craft knife, get some of the paint off, and then try and lever it out that way. The dual headlights, if you leave them with a screwdriver straight on the glass, they will chip, and you'll start getting, if you're not careful, you'll knock shards of glass off. But it's not really the be end and end all if you break the headlight getting it out, because I tend to find you can buy replacement headlights for reproduction ones, but I tend to think they're a bit expensive. So what I tend to do is go and get costume jewelry, or junk jewelry as I call it, from a charity shop mostly. And I've got several things, even the wife's flip-flops.
I was going to grass you up there about the flip-flops.
And yeah, you were going to grass me up, weren't you? And
yeah.
And I find that they're the same style of headlight. They've got the back to them, which they obviously use to secure into the jewelry. So, and you can get them quite cheaper, and you get a different variation of sizes. Some are quite large, some are small, different coloured ones. And an alternative to that, if you can't access to any of that, you go to a craft shop and you can buy strips of flat backed, like Lazi's showing you there. They're flat backed stick on plastic jeweled lights, and
so
you can do
like
that.
The Works or Rain, or the Range.
Yeah, you can.
0.79 euro.
Yeah, you get different sizes for those, and I tend, if I'm going to use those, I usually tend to fill the recess in with a bit of filler.
Yeah,
and make the head use a smaller size so it goes inside the rim, if you know what I mean. 'Cause otherwise, you just stick it on the front, it looks like it's stuck on. You can tell. But if you use a slightly smaller size, then you can just put it in with a bit of filler, just inside the unit.
I'm going to give a shout out to. Sorry, Martin. Finish off what you're saying.
Or like I've done before, is get the two of them and put them back to back. Yeah, if you get them back to back, then you can use the existing hole and put it in. Good alternative.
I'm going to shout out to our mate Neil Austin. We haven't seen for a while.
Good old Neil, yeah.
Yeah, Neil came up with the method, and I've not been able to find the solution, the material, not a solution in answering a problem, the actual solution. There's a liquid that you can buy, and I think the idea was that Neil painted the inside of the light with the silver paint, and then brought this liquid that you can get from a craft shop. It's a clear liquid, Martin, similar to the liquid for doing windscreens that you've mentioned in the past. But it sets, and it creates the effect of an headlight, and I can't. Forgive me if Neil ever comes across it. Forgive me, Neil.
You can buy. I think
it's clear.
It's called Crystal Clear with a K, and they use it for modelling. I think you've used it, PJ, and you can make windows out of it. It's quite a stiff white
Yeah.
liquid, and you can put it over to make the scale modelers use it for windows on the side of aircraft.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what we're talking about. I know what you're talking about with the crystal clear, mate.
Yeah.
That's a little pot. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, this was something.
Or you could
I've not come across it.
any liquid water dry clear.
Yeah, basically.
We
Yeah.
would use it. I've got some Beacon 3-in-1 craft glue. Yeah, anything will dry clear.
Yeah.
Go back to that. What I said. This is the set. While I put the other one. So that's the
Yeah.
handling.
Yeah.
You get.
Yeah.
You got really nice small drill bits. What you normally don't have in a set. And even these you can take out. If nobody had. I mean, if somebody didn't have this before. You can take these out, which is it's not coming out, but it's like a little, also like a little holder.
Yeah, that I'll tell you what, that's a good little set. That is that a park size?
I'll say about it is Parkside. Yeah.
Oh, I need one of those.
We need more money from Parkside because of the advertising that we do for them. Me and my mate.
Lovely little set.
It's worth it just to get that little hand vice. You know.
Yeah, this was like £4 or £5, something. Hand drill set. Yeah, ideal for arts and crafts.
UV resin, rubber cement, Mexican flat, Mexican flat. So that's well, the glare on that is bad. That's the crystal clear that Martin's talking about. And what you can do is if you dip a cocktail stick into the crystal clear and go around the edges of something like a 64 scale windscreen, and there's a trick to it. You can drag it across to the opposite corner because it's all about contact and scientific stuff and things like that. But it takes a hell of a time to dry. But when it does dry, it does dry, as it says on the bottle, crystal clear, and you've got yourself a door window, you know. But Mark, this stuff was that Neil said. I'll have to send him a message. If I remember, I'll send him a message and see if he'll let me know. Back to the chat. Jessica, it's not rocket surgery or even brain science. It's not a rocket science, it's a brain surgery. I like that. I have plenty, Kev. I have plenty of windscreen spares for various Cougars and matchbox castings. I think basically Kev's got the ultimate scrapyard for diecast. If anybody's after anything, by all means, even if you know it's a couple of quid, just offer it to Kev. Go through the Facebook. If you're looking for a part, go through Facebook on the DMC channel. Ask if any of us have got it. We'll ask Kev, and if Kev's got it, cover his postage or whatever. Come to agreement with Kev. But Kev's got, because of the nature of Kev's hobby, where he does banger racing, he ends up with a lot of bumpers and things like that spare. So thanks for that suggestion, Kev. It's much appreciated, mate. Jessica, I've made curved screens from a plastic salad bolt. Yeah, you can get them from Morrison's, Sainsbury's, places like that. Rubber cement makes a good masking fluid, and UV resin for headlights.
UV resin.
That's it.
So Crockett, I didn't think this. I thought this wouldn't last very long, but we've dragged this out a bit, haven't we? So we've got to the windscreen and getting it out. Has anybody got anything to add to removing the windscreen?
No, we got to the headlights.
Got to the headlights. Sorry, got to the headlights.
Can't keep up, mate.
I'm trying to keep up.
I'll just add to it, PJ, if you don't mind.
Go for it, son.
So obviously the plastic lights, stuff like that. The lugs that go through into the casting to the back, I use a soldering iron just to remove the little burr off the back of it. They push straight out. And there's something I have found for the dual headlights. When I've been removing them with a blade, you do struggle to get them out. The hot air gun absolutely works wonders on it. They virtually fall out after that.
That's the blue, wasn't it? Yeah,
warm them up and they drop out. But the only thing you have got to watch if they're in a plastic housing, you're going to melt it. So you've got to watch with the heat. But I like on the older stuff that if they're just in the bucket, just a couple of minutes and they just fall out. And the dual line is reusable. So that's what I found. Anyway.
It's surprising what ideas we come up with to solve issues that you would never think of. We were talking about, or I was talking about, getting a Timmy Toppy bottle warmer.
Oh,
A baby's bottle warmer. Like, and everybody's taking the mickey, like, and then what would you use that for? Well, the idea is when you've done your 3D print, and then all of a sudden Luke was going, "Oh yeah, I see what you mean." You put your 3D print, you wash it in the washer curer. But we've both got two different ways we approach 3D printing. We need to have a session on this at some point. But the bottle warmer just gets up to a tepid temperature where you can put your model in there, and it aids, or I found it aids in breaking off the supports that hold the structure up. Luke takes a different point of view where he likes it to be more brittle, where you can snap things off. So it's just an example of
but it depends on what you print. Yeah, it does depend on what you print.
Yeah, it does. It does. Headlights, Laz. Anything from you?
I just remembered something else with the windscreen. That sometimes if model is overpainted, you need to be careful, because if the paint leaks under the windscreen, you think you can get the windscreen, you force it too much, you can obviously crack it hard. I've got a flat, like a filler knife, but it's not sharp. It's a round filler knife. It's flat. It's completely flat. I use that to go between the roof and the windscreen, and that's normally works. But if you have a little bit paint or something, I sometimes put into hot water, not too hot, just warm water, and sometimes that makes the paint a bit more workable.
It's surprising what you'll attack some of these models with, just to get rid of some. If you buy a model that's been painted over by a child, and you want to strip it back, it's amazing what different types of solutions you'll try, from methylated spirit. Don't try caustic soda; that doesn't work on plastic pieces. But I highly do not, in exclamation mark, do not recommend caustic soda for plastic parts.
I sometimes just put the if I do a small matchbox or a majorette, I just if the windscreen doesn't fall out, sometimes I just put it into just a little bit for warm water, because that will soften the windscreen, and that it just pops up.
You can use anything from methylated spirit to Tamiya paint thinners, anything along them lines, just to remove excess paint. But I tend to find that I've found that you need to work on them kind of models a hell of a lot to clean them up. But depends whether you want to do it or not. So just to round off the headlights, so we've mentioned Neil. What I will say about Laz was good enough to show us the ones that he'd got from a store. It's worth mentioning that they're not diamond shaped ones. So when Martin was saying about the sticky back versions, that's the kind of things you get from they're the kind you get from the works and places like the Range.
Glitzer sticker.
I'm not even going to go there, son. I'm not going to go there. I'm going to get myself in a world of trouble.
These are sticker packs. Yeah.
So even with those ones, you can
get you out of trouble.
You can paint the housing. Right. So we have covered headlights. Let's move on to possibly one of the not probably the trickiest, but one of the things is repairs. Now, the first thing I guess one of the major problems is A pillars, B pillars, and this kind of thing. How you go about it. I'll kick this one off, and you can use anything. Come on.
I'm just going to say before we carry on with that one. I think that is quite a large subject. We could be discussed at another session, because we can use the pillar repairs and the pinholes in the castings and that sort of thing. We could cover that. You know what I mean? I think at this moment, not to rain on your parade or anything, but we were discussing like taking it apart. And I think we've done the base plate, we've done the window, we've done the lights, we've done the boots and bonnets, and taking pictures of anything which is tricky, you know, without going too in depth, because every model is different. I mean, I did that Guy Wrecker, which was in Chitterfield Circus, and that had a multitude of flipping bits and bobs in it. You know,
you can range from four parts. It depends on your model. Yeah.
So I think really not to I could say breach into another subject, which can be saved for another session. You know,
the next one is prepping for paint. So
yeah, we can stick this prepping for paint. It can be involved in that one, as far as I can see, because it's all part of getting the bodywork ready for paint.
Yeah. Is there anything else then, guys, that you want to cover?
We don't know removing the wheels, axles.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, that was it. Yeah,
it's a good job I'm here today, Nick.
I know, mate. I mean, it's young blood, isn't it? It's, you know. So take it away, Luke.
Yeah. Depending on what vehicle you got, sometimes if the peened axles, you're going to be filing them. If they're pressed in, you're going to be using that little puller. Now, Martin, I know you've got that one, but you've got the other one, and I want to know where you got the other one from. I can't find it anywhere.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you.
So just take a step back there, Luke. What in what scenario would you use that wheel puller that you've got there?
They have them where they're like a spined axle and they're pressed on. They're on the Corgi ERF, the tipper wagon and whatever other wagons they do. So basically, well, you will know how to use it. That'll slip in. That end slips in behind the wheel. I mean, you see it there. Yeah. And that little point then goes into the middle of the axle. You wind it in, and it pushes the pin through and pulls the wheel off. And
so
then
for the
well, mate.
Yeah, Lazi's got one as well. So for the uninitiated, where did you get them? Yeah, where did you get them from? Price, availability, that kind of thing.
I got that one from Amazon, and I think it was about £6.
And what is it that you're looking for? Is it a wheel puller? That's
actually a gearbox puller for an RC car. That one.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. That's what they come under. Yeah, they come over.
Hands remover and pull it. It removes hands as well. That's fantastic. Yeah, dangerous. I would have thought.
I got mine from the one that Luke was after, and what Lad had just shown. Was I got mine from a company called Expo, Luke. If you look at Expo,
that's it. Expo, yeah.
If you look at Expo, they'll have them on there. What actually, the very first time I ever wanted to pull a wheel off like that, I actually used a bicycle chain splitter. It was the same principle, and and I cut it apart and used it, but I find it a bit chunky. What you were saying, Luke, about the castings, what have those? Well, mostly Corgi, and you can always tell because there's no rounded end to the axles. They're like smooth flush with the with the wheel hub. You'll notice a lot of it more on the smooth hubs, like on the ERF and some of the earlier Corgis. You've got a smooth machined hub. You'll see that. They are on a spline shaft. Yeah.
Can I just say, if you buy this one, you need to I haven't done it yet, but you need to flatten this bit
Right.
because it's too thick. It won't go between
You
between
won't get behind the wheel.
between the hub and the base plate. So if you buy this brand, which I don't know, can't see the brand, but if you buy this particular box, I think it was about £7, £6.99, £7. You need to flat this down.
Have you still got that one that you got, Luke? Can you just show if you and
Yeah,
Lazi just both?
Like the only trouble with this one is, PJ, if the model's got mud guards on, you can't get that in because it's up against the mud guard when you're trying to put it in. That's why I want the one Martin's got and Lazi's got. But
yeah, the Expo. Yeah,
it's a good quality one. Like I say, it's got its uses and it hasn't in a way.
Yeah. Oh yeah, in
It's
different
not
ways.
too
Yes.
bad if you get the base plate off and the wheels are attached to that, they'll pull them off all day long. But if the axle goes through the casting and it's got the mud guards, you won't be able to do it with this one.
I'm yet to picture this in my head, but so are you recommending the one that Laz has got, Luke?
Both of them, they've both got the uses.
Right.
The one Martin's got is a really good one. So
yeah, it's a bit thinner. It's a bit thinner on the end of Lazi's. I didn't have to carve mine down. Yeah,
you need to flat this down parallel to the inside. You don't need to do much, but you need to make it slimmer.
Yeah.
There's soft pad on the line to take that down anyway. When it 2 minutes, it'd be done.
And I will tell you. I will say one thing. We'll mention one thing about the hub pullers on there. What I tend to do on mine is I use the hub puller. Try one side. If you get a bit of resistance, a lot of resistance, try the other side, because obviously one's been put on with a machine right tight, and the other one's been put on after the axle's gone through, and the body is on. It's not as hard. And I actually bent one of my arms going on the really tight side, and when I swapped it over, it come off easy. So one spline is on, one hub is on tighter than the opposite side. So you know, it's better
so just to clear this up,
give it a bit of ease.
Yeah.
So what we're talking,
do that.
What we're talking about, just to clear this up, is axles that have got splines going into the moon disc-shaped wheels. Yeah,
I'll show you one.
Yeah, because there's alternate versions of that. You can, you got what is that? You just got there. You got a lighter, a gas.
Yeah, you can heat it up. Yeah,
nuclear lighter.
If that does help, PJ, obviously it's aluminium, so it heats up pretty quick.
Yeah, I'll give you an alternate version. You can use
two-part big blowtorch now.
A chef's blowtorch. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking about, Laz. Sorry, that's just clear that. It was a good example of what we're talking about. And then you can get a nail puller behind the wheel after you've heated it up and just ease it off, and that works as well.
That's a different method. Yeah, like I say, for those puller ones, there's two methods. To removing the other ones, do you want it with the grinder? I don't know if you want to carry on with that, Luke. Do you want to do you want to carry on with that? What you do?
You go on with it, Martin.
All right. With the peened over axles, you've got one end of the axle has got a very thin peened over axle end, and the other's been properly machine formed. So you really want to be aiming at taking away the thinner end on those. It can be quite tricky depending what the hubs are like. Some of them, the axle pokes through quite a lot, so you can grab it, push it down, run your sand around your sanding disc or your grinding disc around it to narrow it down, and then slide your wheel off. Or you can use a hand file and file it round like that. If you're going to use a hand file, I would suggest that you grind off one side so it's flat and smooth. And when you're hand filing your axle ends, keep that one against your hub, especially if it's a plastic hub, so you don't ruin the hub whilst you're filing it. If you get what I'm saying, yeah. Or am I frozen?
No,
No,
you're still there, mate. You're still there.
If you can see this,
Yeah, he has frozen
I don't
now.
know. Everybody's frozen. You can hear me? I don't
Yeah,
know.
can you hear us, Martin? Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Not very well.
Okay. Okay, just 2 secs then, chaps. Go on, Laz. You go next. Just while we're seeing wait for Martin to recover.
Martin said that you can see on this one, if you can see that the pin is a bit.
You can just about make it out, mate. Yeah, in the center, yeah.
So the head is a little bit, spread out, whereas on the other side, you can see that it's actually within the hole.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right. Yeah, with you. Yeah.
So that's how I find out which one I need to attack rather than this one, because this is if you think like this is the hub, it's a little bit more spread out around the hub hole, and the other one is in the hole.
Yeah.
So that's what I normally look at, and I can see that this is the one I need to try because that's within the hole.
Yeah. That's one instance of one type of axle. Because as Martin was just saying, if you're looking at something like many of the 64 scale ones, there's 2 domes on each end of the axle, and there's a manufactured one and there's a press one, and the press one is the one that's usually the thinnest of the 2.
Yeah.
Martin, I've seen Martin do this on his channel, and he will go around and manually file it to reduce it before he takes it off. There is a little bit of play usually on an axle. I will use probably something like the Tack Life with a very thin grinding tool on the end. That's another method. However, there are models where I call them clamped. When you take the chassis off and the axle is clamped inside.
Yeah.
And there's only one way you're going to deal with that, and that's to open up them clamps and take the wheels out. And to fix the problem, it's a bit. We talked about cheats and tips and getting around things. This is where your baking soda and super glue comes into force. You replace the wheels, and you've got to fix them back into the chassis. And if you grind away the clamps, there's nothing left to put them back to. So this is where your baking soda and super glue comes into effect, which is basically like is die-caster's cement. For want of a better explanation, it's really good stuff. So was this Laz? Anything else on that?
That's it, really.
Okay, Luke.
I don't use baking soda, PJ. I never have used it. I don't know why. Maybe I should. I'm not a lover of glue, mate. I'll be honest. I'm not.
So, well, the idea behind it is that it forms a. It's almost like 3D resin as a material. So I know Martin was saying about touching on A-pillars and stuff like that in the next episode, but that's fine. But if you're replacing a part that you need to glue in place, the idea is that you put super glue around that part, sprinkle it with baking soda, leave it for, I don't know, 5-10 minutes.
Baking powder, not baking soda.
Powder, sorry, not baking soda, baking powder. And it will form a cement, and it's a bloody hard cement as well. To the point where you're using something like this to grind away the access to get it back. And depending on what you've used as your replacement A pillar or B pillar, these kind of components, you can get it back pretty flat, you know. And we've talked about using metal files and things like that, so you can use metal files and stuff like that to get them back. I don't know whether we've lost Martin for good this time around. We're coming up on 10 o'clock, so we've been at this for nearly 2 hours now. Yeah. Is there anything that you feel, guys, that we need to cover in this episode about disassembly that we've missed? We've talked about windscreens, we've talked about posts, we've talked about drilling, we've talked about headlights, a multitude of things. Let's just nip into the chat. Jessica saying UV resin for headlights. My last word on windscreens: if you use floor polish, use 2 coats. The difference is amazing. Some of us do use floor polish, but then there's also this goes into. Well, this could be an whole new episode on branding, couldn't it? And what brand of floor polish you use. Jessica saying bicycle chain tool, Martin, and hands from watches and clocks. I'll speak. Just touching on the floor polish, just to answer a question. Is I brought a bottle of the Revive It. Pledge Revive It. We can't get it in the UK. We have to buy it off eBay. It's something, it can range between £12 to £15 a bottle. That being said, if you used it for the purposes that we use it for, which is dip your windscreen into the floor polish, turn it over, let it drain, put on a piece of tissue paper and a plastic bowl over the top of it, leave it for, I don't know, half an hour less, something like that. You'll get a fantastic shiny windscreen.
That floor polish you're using, PJ, what's the difference to this stuff?
I can't answer that question, Luke, because I've never used what you've got there.
You not used it. It must be doing the same thing, obviously.
Is that a paste as opposed to a liquid, though?
No, it's a liquid. You dip it in. I'm just wondering, they use the floor polish. Maybe it's a cheaper version of this. I don't know. I use it. This is good stuff, but it's the same. You know, you have to let it dry, put it under the freaking container, but the glass comes out really nice in that as well. So.
Pretty much sounds like the same thing.
Same thing, but it's probably. I'm not sure how much you give for that now. But if you're, what did you say? How much was that, Laz?
This I think was £12 something. I'll find this actually in Home Depot, or what's the other one in the UK?
That's Sonny. That's Sonny, one of our adopted pets, by the way.
Yeah, I'll find this in a store. Home Depot, I think. Home Base. That's the one. Home Base. Yeah, they had 2 bottles. I bought both of them. They were £12.95 each.
Yeah,
we cannot get that. Your dog has started off my dog, Laz. I hope you're happy now. Friday, be quiet.
This is from the UK. I bought this in the UK.
I brought my bottle of Revive It from eBay.
Yeah,
here in the UK. So just if anybody doesn't know, Laz is currently in Romania now. Laz,
yes.
Yeah. Me and Luke and Martin, all 3 of us are in the UK. Except Chester's not really a part of the UK.
Don't start.
Don't start,
boy.
We wind each other. He calls me all the names under the sun.
It's in the UK, isn't it?
I did. Funny enough, I heard Colchester.
I've had a Stella now, mate. You're full of bruises.
He's a man on the edge. He's a man on the edge.
South. Yeah, Colchester is down south. Chester is up north.
Oh, yeah. You were in Colchester though, weren't you, when you were over here? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Colchester is better than Chester.
I nearly said something, but I won't, because it'll only wind him up even more. Jessica, expert on floor polish here. It's all the same, pretty much. Pledge is. It surprises me about Pledge, Luke, because the amount of stuff that Pledge does in the UK, from floor polish. Well, yeah, they do a floor polish, they do a multi-polish, they do surface polish, they do furniture polish. The one they don't do is the bloody Revive It, which is bizarre.
You tried any of the other stuff?
No, you know how you go on a. How do I put it? You know when you find a recommendation like, go and buy this 3D printer. So you go and buy it and it works. You think, result, I'm happy with that. That's how I was with the Revive It. Somebody recommended, buy Revive It, follow this process, and it works. And that bottle of Revive It is going to last me, I'm not going to say a lifetime, but a bloody long time. Like
it's a 3/4 of a liter, but it's only missing this one because I knocked the jar off, so I have to fill it up again. But otherwise, it's enough forever.
Yeah, just a recommendation on that. So if you get a small plastic pot of some sort with a lid,
jar,
you get them from the works, places like that. Just have yourself a dipping tank for your winds that's big, just big enough to do 143, 125th scale windscreens. You only have to dip it in there for seconds, 2-3 seconds. Yeah, Laz.
Jessica just says the first shine, the first coat is for sealing levels and seals, and then the second coat
go for maximum shine.
That's true, actually. Yeah, that's true.
I don't know whether I've be interested. Oh, you know what, Jessica? I'm going to.
We'll try that.
I've got 2 replacement windscreens. They come straight from Steve Flowers, so I won't be dipping them. But the next model that I work on, I'm going to put that to the test, and I'll use Revive It, and I'll mention it when we do another one of these live chats, and say, go and check the video, and this is what it looks like. But it's a pretty simple process. Dip it 2 or 3 seconds, let it drain over your dipping tank, whatever it may be. Put it on a piece of tissue, put a tank over a cover over the top of it, a little pot. Leave it for, well, as long as you want. The longer you leave it, the better, really. But
this windscreen has been revived. I don't know if you can see.
I mean,
there's a completely different discussion about how do you get that windscreen to the point before you put it into Revive It, because some windscreens are really badly damaged before we even get to that point. Anyway, so
next time.
Next time. Laz is itching to get out of here. Right.
No, do you remember that? Next time, Gadget. Next time.
Yeah. And I think we'll unless he's just snuck back into the back door. Like I was just about to call it, and then here he comes sneaking back in. It all
went a bit wappy.
Yeah, you've missed all the name calling and all sorts.
I reckon that's that Luke. He nobbled it, mate.
He nobbled you.
Yeah, nobbled me, mate. Yeah.
We were just talking about the use of things like Revive It for polishing windscreens and that kind of thing. Is there anything else while we've got you back and you can hear us that else you want to cover before we draw the curtains on this one?
Yeah, yeah. Somebody moved the edge. I can see what's going on. Yeah. So I take it you covered the axle removal, yeah?
Yes.
Yes, you've done that. Well done. So
everybody nod your head.
Yeah, we've nod. Yeah. So where are we up to now then?
We just talked about
the windscreen.
We was talking about Revive It, and it's interesting when you start to go through this process, Mark, from one end to the other. We thought we'd got some topics to cover everything, and it's surprising what else comes up out of the blue. So,
definitely,
the materials that we all use that are available to us in the UK. Laz is just saying he was able to get 2 bottles Revive It from home base. I've never seen it at home base where I am.
No. Well,
Jessica's saying, the first coat levels and seals, second coat maximum shine. Martin uses fingernail buffers for polishing. Windscreens, excellent results. Yes, he does.
Yeah.
Which
There's
is
also
like
a lot of people use wet sanding. Yeah, a lot of wet sanding. I mean, I've still got the old a bottle of the old clear with the K before it became Pledge Revive It, and I've still got that. I use that. I keep it in a separate container. But there is that gauzy. That's another good one. If you
that's the one I've got here.
Luke's got, isn't it?
Yeah, I just wondering what the difference is. What's that, mate?
You use that gauzy, don't you, Luke?
Yeah, I've got it here. We were just wondering what the difference is between that and that stuff BJ's using.
Yours is a bit thicker.
Is that all it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So, Luke, how much? Because we're a very informative group here. How much is that for a? It looks like a very small bottle, though.
It is. I can't even remember what I paid for it. It might have been a 10 or 13 quid, something like that. I don't know.
Something. Wow. Okay, so that's quite expensive for a.
Yeah, it's
a small bottle, like, you know what I mean? Yeah.
But I find you could also.
I bought that over 12 months ago when I first started doing the restorations. I bought it.
Mick's saying I can't get it here either. So Mick's over in Ireland. It's just eBay's got a lot to answer for. Just to go, wet sand is expensive. Paper is expensive paper. A lot of this has got to do with your location, hasn't it? I think, really.
Yeah. There is also, I mean, Ian's just messaged me. I have to remember because it flashed on the top of my phone.
That's all right.
That you can use that Astonish floor polish, and that's quite cheap. That Astonish floor polish. I have used that before, to be honest with you. Yeah, but my missus uses it on the floor now, so I can't use it. But yeah, it's Astonish. You can get that from a range of various places. Yeah. Any clear polish.
Our lad Owen in the background there, is he?
Owen.
Don't say hello, then. Don't be shy.
Come on.
Don't be shy.
He's shy. Come on.
Shy. It's Uncle PJ here. You're all right. It's all right.
That sounded a bit creepy. That
sounds weird now. Now I've said it out loud. I wish I'd just said it.
It did a bit, yeah.
Fiddling about.
Yeah, there's, like you say, that Astonish, the Clear, the Pledge Revive It, stuff like this. You can use. I mean, the Auto Soul people use the Auto Soul to do the windows with. I mean, there is quite a few people will use a Dremel and a mop to polish it with. I have used that, but on a very, very low speed. I think it's important to notice for beginners that even when you're using the sanding like I do, dry sanders, the plastic will still heat up even when you're using a dry sander, and you will, if you're not careful, pick up burrs. So I usually rub for a little bit and then give it a minute or two to cool down. You can feel it in your hand getting hot. That's when to stop, because otherwise the plastic will start to curl up minutely at first, and you won't notice it, but then you will notice it. It'll be difficult. That's where the wet sanding comes in handy, because it's not heating up. So the same as when you're mopping it, when you're polishing it, you can, if you're not careful, the mop, it's all good, polish it, all looks great, but then it will heat up and then it will burn, and then you're going to have a problem. So I usually use a lint-free cloth to buff mine up with after I've used a buffing stick.
I'm trying to I'm trying to find the paste that I've got, but the Tack Life What I like about this little, I only use it for certain jobs. It doesn't overclock. It doesn't go too fast.
Yeah.
And you can use the Dremel accessories in this, or and I've noticed, I think it's tomorrow, that Parkside, the big container with all the drill bits in and Dremel bits is on offer for $12.99. So it's come down a couple of quid. So by all means, check Middle of Lidl online if you're in the UK. So I've got two pastes that I use. Auto Salt is one. Yes, thank you, Martin.
It's getting late, PJ. It's getting late, mate. You're all right.
I'm struggling a bit, to be honest. But to back up and completely agree with what Martin says, just take your time. It's not a race. If you do it, you'll melt the plastic, no matter what you use. So
sorry, PJ. I use wet and dry, and then I buff it up with a bit of teacup.
Yeah, that's a fine teacup, that, isn't it? Yeah.
What I like about Luke's approach is he's attacking it's the wrong word, but going at it like it's a real car, and he's getting the results that it's a real car, So I mean, when he's done the paint jobs from Luke and Laz are amazing. They're second to none, and they've both been
He's more shit though, Luke and Laz. Right. Yeah, all right, BJ. Yeah, I got it, mate.
He's all right. He knows it. He knows he knows what I'm saying. How many times on a Friday night? How many times do you say, Dare, that bloody car that you painted, Luke, looks fantastic? So, yeah.
I mean, at the end of that's what you were saying about. You were saying about he attacks like a real car, but that bloody great Rover he's doing now, that original print when it came out looks like a real car anyway, isn't it?
So do you want to just to round this off, and we'll call it a night after this? A little bit of a story. Yeah. Do you want to just tell us what this Rover was all about and this plan that you've got?
Right. So I've got this Rover SD1. I've just shown it you. It's there.
Yeah.
So what I want for it is the front balance and the rear spoiler.
Yeah.
Right. Now I looked on that Thingiverse. What's it called?
Thingiverse, yeah.
Yeah, Thingiverse and Cult 3D, and I can't find the files obviously for the spoiler and the front balance. So
let me just pause you there. Thingiverse and this Thingiverse Cult something.
Cult 3D.
And there's one called Yegiverse as well.
I haven't checked that one, PG.
These are Yegiverse combines all of them, so it's YEGGIS. So it might be worth one for you to check. But these are sites where you can look for 3D plans. Some are free. A lot of them just lately you have to buy. But sorry, Luke, carry on.
Yeah. Anyway, I managed to find a full shell on Cult 3D to print off, which has got the front balance and the spoiler that I need. By the time it's printed, it's going to be hard resin, so we'll have to cut it off and fit it to that casting. Right. So I downloads it, puts it into the slicer, and it's only a full size car.
Wow!
It does. My little square box, which is my printer, is sitting on the floor inside it. We ought to show. Anyway, I've got a video of it. It's going to be in the video for next week, so you'll see. You'll have a bit of a laugh. But
right. So what we're talking about
now, I've scaled it down to the size that I need, and it's just printed it off. It took 4 hours to print it, so I'm hoping it's right. Because if it's not, it's going to be another 4 hours to do it.
That's you. Ooh, you bugger. Because you had a go at me and you said, that bloody little baby Yoda shouldn't take 5 hours. And here's you 4 hours into printing what should be
pretty easy. I've got a use for that. What are you going to do with that, BJ?
I'm going to give it to my granddaughter and I'll be like, God.
Yeah, fair enough. There you go. It's worth it.
But what Luke don't realise is when he wakes up in the morning, he won't be able to get in his shed because there'll be a full-size spoiler sat there on the machine.
I'm thinking of going into ringing SD1s.
what we ought to say is with these, you can just say over Luke's shoulder. I think that's the washer that you've got over your shoulder with the cover on, isn't it, Luke?
It is, mate. Yeah.
Yeah. The 3D printer itself is pretty much exactly the same in size. It has what's called a build plate, so your model has to fit within a certain criteria of that build plate, which is something like, I don't know, like 4 inches by 8 inches, something like that.
Yeah, got that.
Or 6 inches. So if it's bigger than that, you have to scale it down. And obviously, a fucking full-size car is a lot bigger than 4 inches by 8 inches.
When I opened it up, I was like, where is it? And it's only because I actually hit the button and it panned up slightly. I thought, what's that up there? When I strolled up, I was laughing me head. Just a full-scale car.
And was this a purchased item?
Yeah, it was. It was only 99p, but to be fair, there's good detail on it. So I've scaled it down to the right size, so I'll get what I need out of it. It's worth £1 for that. And anyone wants a full-size Rover SD1, get it shut up.
Yeah.
It might take about 5 years to print it off, but if you want one,
it come in kit form. Yeah.
The man will be an old boy by the time he gets it finished. That's brilliant. But that just goes to show you the. I mean, my mum said, fun enough, it's completely off topic, but my mum said, "Can you order me a larder fridge for under the the kitchen bench?" Yeah. And I just went on straight onto Argos, £150, blah blah blah. Yeah, that'll do, blah blah blah. And it gets there, and it's a narrow version. It's only about, I don't know, 25 inches wide. She went ballistic. So it just goes to show, or a recommendation is, read the bloody instructions before you buy something.
Yeah, always.
You know what you're getting. Right.
Always.
I think my thanks to the guys as always. It's getting a bit late. I don't think we'd fill this, but we've gone over 2 hours, another long one. So thanks to Luke, thanks to Laz. Congratulations again, buddy, on the 2K. It's well deserved. Thanks, Mark, for sticking with it through all the trials and tribulations of the internet.
As always.
We're not entirely sure what we've got coming up in the next episode. If it's not a guest, we'll be moving on to the next topic. So from me and the boys, we'll see you in a fortnight. Take care and see you soon. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.